Hey, Legal Rebels, this is Tom Martin. I'm the founder of LawDroid, and this is my podcast, LawDroid Manifesto, where I interview legal innovators about how they do what they do. In this episode, I interview Patrick Palace, who's created an empire with a law firm dedicated to workers' compensation and personal injury in Washington and Oregon. He shares his insider secrets about how to build a successful law practice and still live a fulfilling life. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tom Martin, the founder and CEO of LawDroid, and we have a wonderful guest here today, my personal friend, Patrick Palace. I'm so excited to share a bit of his background with you. He is the owner of Palace Law. He's also the co-founder of the American Legal Technology Awards with me, and we've known each other for years, and I greatly admire his innovation in the practice of law and the business of law. And that's what we're going to focus on here today, is getting more into what is the business of law? How do you optimize that? How do you make more money? How you're more profitable and successful? And I can't think of a better example of someone who has done that than Patrick Palace. So Patrick, if you can give us a little more background about some of the other stuff you're involved with.
Gosh, Tom, thank you. I have to tell you, this is a big deal for me. How nice to be able to be here and to talk with you. And I appreciate the introduction. Sure, I can say a thing or two. My life is divided into a couple of pieces. Being a managing partner of a law firm is one. Bar leadership is the other. I will be the president of the National Conference of Bar Presidents. I'm working my way up the ladder. Now, I was the past president of the Washington State Bar Association. I recently finished my term serving as the vice chair for the ABA Center for Innovation. And, I've served on lots of other leadership roles, but leadership in the bar and bar service and working on access to justice. And then at one point I said, I think I can do this. And I think I can do this better than the people I've worked for. And started my own law firm, getting close to 30 years ago. Hard to believe, sole practitioner. We've come a long way in those years. Now there's about 40 people in my office. We practice in 2 states. I'm one of a number of partners in the firm. And the journey's progressed from being just the guy who does everything to the guy who just litigates every week. And I litigated every week for, probably 25 years. And now I'm literally the business end of the firm. I run all business aspects and have given up all practice of law. I oversee it, I strategize, I work on teams, but I don't have any cases. So that's kind of been the journey from beginning to end.
Well, look, I know you participated in the business of law segment that we had at LawDroid's inaugural AI conference, along with Mitch Jackson and James Peters. And so one kind of just foundational question is, what does the business of law entail to you?
Yeah, that's a big question. And it's hard to identify clearly where the practice of law ends and the business of law begins. I've spent so much of my life practicing law, trying to be a good lawyer, trying to take care of clients, make clients happy, win cases, serve justice, get the right result, do the right thing every day. And that feels like the business of law, right? Because we run a business. If we do a good job, we take care of people, we make enough money to survive. But the other part of the business of law really is the marketing end. It's the management side. It's the workflow, work process side. It's the creating and leveraging technology to work harder and faster. It's the scaling the firm to be able to expand services, to provide greater access to people, and then to be able to manage everything well. And it's about culture. It's about running your firm with a solid culture, a firm of people who want to be together, work hard, and thrive. So it has a lot of components, Tom, and I'm happy to drill down in any one of those that you want to talk about.
Well, that's fantastic, Patrick. And you've already anticipated the whole, structure of what I plan to ask you about. And the first one really is about growth and strategy, because that's so important to someone who's either starting or running their own law firm. Like how do I do that? So along those lines, what are some strategies that you would recommend for scaling your law practice?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm sure there's people out in your audience who are sole practitioners, small practitioners, people who are working 40, 50, 60, 70, God forbid, don't do it 80 hours a week. People who are working long after 6 o'clock, getting up first thing in the morning, working to the weekends. It's what the CLIA report says is happening to lawyers. We're just working 24/7, 7 days a week. Um, maybe you do a better job by putting in those hours. Maybe you're fighting the better fight. Maybe you're doing more pleadings and more discovery. Maybe you're strategizing stronger cases. But look, you're not growing your firm. Um, I mean, it probably helps to attract more clients. But if you're buried in the pleadings, if you're buried in the daily work of the firm, you really don't have a chance to grow it or to strategize about the future. I think the best thing we ever did, the best advice I got was, Patrick, have you thought about putting together a management team who just focuses on growth and streamlining, scaling your firm? Like, that's a brilliant idea. I spend my time, thinking about those things, but I never had a team. So we put together a team, and that team meets weekly. And we form teams with teams. We have multiple teams throughout our office who are given tasks to think about growth, opportunities, how to streamline, work on the process. Workflow is a big part of it, culture. And by doing that, we started to step away from the pleadings and the daily work. Then I just turned over my cases altogether, like I mentioned, and stopped practicing law. As soon as I did that, and I'll tell you, it was a big risk. Look, I know what you're all saying. Like, you know what? I'm the rainmaker here. I make all the money. You can't settle these cases. Nobody else is going to get in front of a jury except for me. I'm the guy. And you probably are the guy or the gal. But until you make that trade and turn over some of those cases or all of the cases, start running the business of your practice, you're really not going to grow. You're really not going to expand. And I turned over all of the rainmaking and thought, this is the biggest risk I've ever taken in my entire life. And to my surprise, honestly, to my surprise, our firm revenue increased by something like 76% the first year I stopped practicing law. I don't know what that says, but I'd been on a slow growth at 2, 3, 4, 5% every year of most of those years. And to suddenly have this skyrocketing amount go up just because I stopped practicing and started focusing full time on running the firm, managing the firm, growing the firm, strategizing the firm, it really made a huge difference.
Wow, that is a huge difference. And it sounds like you became captain of the ship rather than, working, throwing coal into the engines, which is absolutely necessary. But given your experience, you could use that to your advantage to capture more clients.
Well, that's right. Because once you figure out how to scale and what growth looks like and how to attain growth, it really is a matter of follow through. I mean, I can't say we're, so smart on growth strategies. I can tell you we're so smart on executing growth strategies. And if you're practicing law every day, don't have time, you can't execute, you can't follow through. You're not going to get the outcomes. You're just going to spend more and more money paying marketers to get you leads and look for lead gen opportunities that having outside people do. And you know what? Yeah, you can get growth, but that truly isn't going to make your firm move forward structurally, financially, culturally, strategically, unless everybody is involved and you have a clear goal and you have teams and you have strategies and you work on them every week, every day, every month, every quarter, every year.
And I know so many lawyers out there, myself being one of them in the past, we want to keep our hands around everything. We're part of it is like wanting to have the control, but also wanting to ensure the quality and feeling that, oh my God, if I let loose of this or if I hand it off to someone else, it's not going to get done. And there's that phrase, you want to be working on your business, not in your business, because if you know it best, you're the best to make it better and succeed. Um, so that's really good nitty gritty stuff. Like you had mentioned the idea of creating a team to be responsible for growth and strategy. Are there any other practices that you've implemented that are like that, that would help you to implement a, you know, a growth strategy within your firm?
Yeah, there's a number of things I can tick off. I'm just trying to start from the headlines, right? Maybe one of those headlines would be set goals that are short-term goals for your firm. We have a set of goals for our management team every 90 days, every quarter. Essentially, we look at we plan goals, things that we think are critical, things that hit really three qualifications. Are we passionate about them? Do we think we could be the best at doing them? And are these things that are going to move our firm forward growth? Is there good financial ideas, strategies to grow forward? And so with that lens, we will identify 5, 6, sometimes 7 of these goals. And we divide them up, and sometimes we partner. There's 4 of us on our leadership team, and we pursue those goals, and we are required to complete them by the end of each quarter. So we set not aspirations, we set goals that we're going to achieve. So they're realistic and they're achievable, and we plan as we set them out. I always ask everybody as we go around the table and we're finalizing our goals, what does done look like? How do you know you've got to done? And then we write them out, and then we hold each other accountable to achieve them. And they're all things that dramatically move the firm forward every single quarter. And then those goals go into a 3-year plan with the 3-year larger goals that our quarterly goals go to achieve towards. And then of course we have our 10-year goal, which is way out there. And then we have our BHAGs, our big, hairy, audacious goals, which, we just announced they aren't really achievable. We don't expect to achieve them, but damn it, we're going to try. And if we don't have our eye on that horizon, we're never really going to get there. So I think these quarterly rocks or quarterly goals drive us and growth. And by the way, none of them are like win more cases, take on more clients, write a better brief. I mean, they're things that are strategic about running the business.
So one is delegation, getting some of the tasks off of your plate and putting it into a team's responsibility. Then also setting goals so that they actually have tangible tasks to achieve and exactly what that done looks like. I mean, some of it seems obvious, but it's things that we don't implement, I think, many times as either a solo lawyer or a small firm, because we simply don't have the bandwidth to do these things. So I guess a related question I have for you is for that lawyer who's feeling that this all sounds great, Patrick, but how would I take a moment to put this in, to make this possible, to implement this? How did they make the space for that? How did you do it?
I have this life mantra that I say to myself all the time. And it's one brave thing. And the one brave thing mantra is every day, do something outside of your comfort zone. Do something that you feel like requires a little bravery. Take a little chance. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to go skydiving tomorrow. That's my one brave thing. Sometimes it's much smaller things. I'm going to appear on Tom Martin's podcast. Maybe that's my one brave thing today, right? And show myself to the world. One brave thing has gotten me a lot of places. And one of those days, for example, one brave thing was today I'm handing over all my cases to somebody else. And I'm going to manage the law firm. That was a one brave thing day. Deciding the day that I was going to cut back on my cases, not take new cases, and focus on running the firm was a one brave thing. I approach these things that way all the time. When I ran for, bar positions and was, as a young lawyer, and I'm practicing 7 days a week, I'm practicing 8 and 10 hours a day. It's all I'm doing. I got an apartment across the street from my little office, so I could just run over there and take a nap or get a bite, right? And I decided I wanted to do something bigger, and so I got involved in bar leadership. And it was a one brave thing day when I put my name in to be elected to be the young lawyer president. We had a young lawyer division to be president, young lawyer, because I knew that was going to take a lot of time away from my practice. And young lawyers don't pay much, right? The state bar is very low on the pay scale. It's all volunteer work. But I found that in doing that, that I could make space in my practice to volunteer and do the things that were meaningful for the bar and for other lawyers. And it didn't hurt my practice at all. And once you start making that kind of space, then you can fit other things into it. And I've continued to try to make space in my life and in my practice to add other things that improve practice, improve service to my clients, improve my life and make me feel better and more challenged about what I do. It's just a matter of that one brave thing principle. And I think if you're willing to put down your pleadings for an afternoon once a week or a couple times a week, you will make dramatic changes in your practice. But it takes that mindset, I'm ready to do this, and then to stick with it.
I love that one brave thing business philosophy. That's, I think, one thing that people can take away from this and implement immediately. Maybe easy said, but you got to do it. You got to do it. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was, do you think, is it possible that traditional law firms can succeed in the modern day? Like, do you think that the old fashioned approach where one lawyer is handling all the cases and maybe has an assistant and just goes about the day in, day out, going to court and slogging through it, is that still a viable business model today?
Yes, but with a lot of caveats. There is such an access to justice problem right now. I mean, it's a pretty common statistic that 80% of the people who want lawyers and need legal services aren't able to obtain them. So guess what? I mean, we still have essentially a monopoly. Because we have monopoly, people have to go through lawyers to get services. It doesn't really matter how badly we practice, how efficient our practice is. There's going to be people who need us and cases we can take. So I think no matter how old your model is, there's still going to be room in this economy to practice law and make money and serve your community. But the bigger question, Tom, maybe what you're asking is that sustainable? Is it going to be sustainable into the future? And for that one, I have a little different answer. I'm really starting to think about the practice of law in terms of the have and the have-nots. And I don't mean the people who don't have lawyers and those who do, or those who can't afford lawyers and those who do. That's not what I mean. I mean among lawyers, who are the law firms who are staying ahead of technology, or at least staying with technology? Who is leveraging the opportunities that are out there to practice more efficiently? Who's finding scalability at the same time? They're finding the ability to practice law better. If you're using old tools, old ways, old systems, you still have paper in your office, you're not using case management, you're not on Zoom, your clients still have to come into your office, then you are slogging when everyone else is flying. You are driving in the 25-mile lane and everyone else is driving 70 around you. Yes, you're still going to get your destination. So the real question, I think, for everybody is, how do I get in the fast lane? How do I stay in the fast lane? What does it take to be in the fast lane? How can I be a have lawyer instead of a have not lawyer? How do I compete at the highest level and achieve the greatest goods for my clients and for my community versus the minimal opportunity to make money and survive? And I think that's where this practice of law and the business of law gets really interesting.
100%. And I think that by employing some of the business, insights and management practices that you're talking about, I think that would greatly improve people's chances of succeeding. And traditional models really don't take that into account. But one thing that I'd really like to know about is, you're so enthusiastic about all this. Like, what drives you personally and professionally to do this?
That's a loaded question. But let me try to put it this way. I believe that there is a law firm model out there that, as far as I know, hasn't been discovered and certainly hasn't been unleashed to the potential that it could have. I spend every day thinking about what that model might be and how we get there. And I think we all know from business models, you don't just take one wild step into the abyss and create something brand new. I mean, maybe you can, but you don't see it. It's really baby steps all the time until you evolve into something much different. It is that constant, relentless pursuit of improvement every day that moves you into a new place. I am driven by the knowledge there is a better model out there where we can practice law for more people at great scale for less cost, do more good, and be more accessible for all the people that really need us. And I'm really driven in all sorts of ways to find it. And part of my bar leadership desires and goals is to rally everybody together to talk about how we find this model. Where is this model? What's working? What's not? Legal innovation is critical when we all work as a team. Bar leadership is critical when we as leaders help all the lawyers in our states achieve great things, to find better models, to scale, to get access to justice. So I'm driven for my firm. It's my laboratory where I practice and put on my lab coat every day and try new things and fail and try new things that work, and then report them out to other bar leaders, other bar presidents, to talk about them on podcasts like this, where, you know, amazing people like you give me an opportunity to share and get excited about what's happening and to share ideas and hope that other bar leaders, other managers and owners of the law firm, other innovative lawyers can also share. And together we find this model and we change the practice of law and we do the good that we have to do if we're ever going to get back past this 80% of people who don't have lawyers. It's ridiculous. And we need to change it. And that drives me every day.
Well, that's awesome. And it sounds like that model that you're looking for is the one that you're building for yourself and the people that work with you.
Everything that I can do to get that. That's right.
Well, let's get back into the nitty-gritty a little bit. How do you market your law firm to attract new clients? What are some tactics that you would feel comfortable sharing with us?
Well, look, we're not unique as a law firm. We do a lot of the same marketing things everybody else does. Like, do we pay for lead gen? Yeah, we do that. Do we have commercials on the radio and TV? Yeah, we do that. Do we send emails out to our client database? Yeah, we do some email marketing. Social media. Who does social media out there? Right. Okay. We do some Instagram and some Facebook and put stuff up on LinkedIn. I mean, I think at this point, most of that is everyday work that most lawyers probably do. It's just a question of how much time do you dedicate to it? By the way, shout out to ChatGPT, creating content, putting it on your website, putting it in your Instagram. Lots of ways to do that, much quicker than trying to create your own content. So all that is kind of table stakes, I think. If you put enough time into it, you can grow it. If you put enough energy into all of those things, a good marketing campaign, good social media presence, I think you do well. Where I find my joy and my happiness really is trying to develop tools that are usable by consumers, by people who need legal services. And I'll give you a couple examples. We wanted a tool that told people who had cases, people who were injured. I do workers' comp and personal injury. We wanted a tool that told people what the value of their case was. And it took some work to think about it and get our heads around it and then to create it. But the idea that we could keep insurance companies and the government honest, that we could keep them accountable, that we could let all of our consumers, all of our people out there who have injury claims to know what the real value of their case is. To me, that sounded like a really important piece of data that everyone needed. So we created a case value calculator that's pretty damn accurate. And it gives people a starting point to know if they're being taken advantage of or ripped off by an insurance company or the state. And, do people use it and then everybody comes to me and I take on a case? No, it's not the way it is. That's not why we do it. It's I think Mark Britton coined this back in the Avo days of freemiums. You give them a really good product for free. It's a freemium. And so I believe that this is one of those ways to bridge access to justice, give people information they need. It doesn't hurt that our name's attached to it, so maybe they remember us, but it really is providing a service. There's another example, Tom, that I know you know a little bit about, but I'll save that unless you want to talk about it now.
Oh, please share.
Okay. So Tom and I partnered up some years ago when this idea of this thing called a chatbot was actually a possibility. And I said, I was looking for tech partners. We've had a number of partners in tech companies over the years to develop tools. Sometimes those tools go out and get sold and marketed to the lawyers. Sometimes we keep them internally. It just depends. But we're always trying to develop new tools for our firm and then see where they go. So one of the tools I wanted was a chatbot that would help do a complete analysis of someone's case, answer all of their questions, give them resources for everything they might need to know. And it just seemed like a daunting task, right? We're going to create a chatbot. Well, the good news is that I met this guy, Tom Martin, who happened to have a tech company who was designing chatbots at the same time I was trying to dream up what one might look like. And we built a Q&A chatbot where you essentially just a question answer tree. It feels like you're talking to it, but the reality is it's already pre-programmed in. And then when Chat GPT came about, we said, wow, now we can make this actually, a link to a large language model and have this chatbot talk to people in real language. And we just front loaded a massive database of information that was all protected and caged. No hallucinations, no risks out there, and then released it fairly recently out into the wild so that anybody with a workers' compensation case in Washington can spend as much time as they want free, 24/7, 365, asking as many questions as they want of our chatbot. And we call it PatBot after, Palace Law. So it's a PatBot, and it also gives forms and pleadings and whatever else for free. It's our way again. I'd say it's a premium because it really does do everything that lawyers can do just about. And we're careful to say it doesn't give legal advice; it gives legal information, it gives legal resources. But I think by taking the resources and the information that this PatBot gives you, anybody can go through a workers' compensation case competently from beginning to end. And of course, if they want advice, they can come talk to us. And I think that's one of the ways we've really worked on scaling our firm, bringing our influence to a broader audience, helping advance access to justice. And to the degree that sometimes people who use it call us and want help in their case, that's great too. Then it's a lead generation system too. It's a win-win-win-win-win on a way to scale. And frankly, I think it's one of these things that's going to lead to the better model for us because we can continue to expand this tool to do more and more things for people in more and more states and in more and more areas of law. I think it has a huge future.
Well, thank you so much for that plug there, Patrick. But one thing I really love about your approach to these things is that it's not just a one-off thing. It's really about creating a relationship with the person that's in need of help and giving them real value that they can act on. And so I think, that in combination with all of the regular, advertising and marketing practices that you mentioned makes it a much fuller picture. It's something beyond just a transactional moment with a potential new client. One other thing, though, that I think you do is unique is you have these different events that happen. Like there's a music festival, right, that you are a sponsor of?
Yeah. We formed a relationship with a national radio company, entertainment company. And one of the things we started doing about 15 years ago, they have a big rock concert in Seattle every year. And it's usually all day long. Sometimes it's 2 days long. Maybe it's 30 bands that come and play. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could throw a party at this thing? And so we developed this backstage party. And as it's gone over the years, we have this big backstage party. People can come. There's usually hundreds of people that arrive. All the musicians from these bands come and unplug and put on a little private performance for us before they go on stage in front of an audience of some 15 or 20,000 people. And that's something that my firm does. And we give hundreds of tickets to all of our clients. These are people who are injured, who are down, who are um, recovering from surgeries, aren't working, life is bad, they're not sleeping, they're depressed, right? And like, you know what? You deserve a day at the concert venue to listen to rock bands for a day or two. Here's your free tickets. We'll pay for everything. Go. And we just send out the tickets, and the party is a lot of our clients. And of course, people in the general public are invited to, and we have this big event. So, I mean, it's fun. It's good for the firm. I love seeing the music. I love meeting the musicians. Um, it's one of those things where it's a win-win for everybody. And I guess it fits into marketing, Tom, but honestly, it feels more like kind of a way of life and a cultural piece for my office and for my company, for my clients, and a piece of culture for the Pacific Northwest.
One thing I'll add to that is just that I know you also do radio spots, and when you do them, the interview that you have with the host is just like it's so down to earth, and you guys are just, shooting just yeah.
I
Well,
know
I
where you're
won't say
going.
it.
I know where
Yeah,
you're going.
having a great conversation about what's going on. And I think in my mind, like where you get with that is that you take it to a real human level of where people are meeting them where they're at. It's not it's not just the lawyer, I'm going to handle your legal case. I'm just going to handle this like one dimension of who you are. It's going beyond like when a doctor meets a patient and they're just looking at the chart. Yes, there's a professional distance to that, but I think what you've done is you've bridged that gap and going beyond that to be a part of people's lives through radio, through the concert, and inviting them to come enjoy that with you, um as well as a lot of other things you do. I think that's i think that's something that people can take away from this too, is to view your clients 100, like a 360 view of them as a human being and meeting them where they're at.
I grew up a blue collar guy. My folks were caregivers. My father worked for uh, counsel kids who were high risk youth who were in trouble with the law. My mother took care of people who had cerebral palsy. That's why they dedicated their lives. I grew up really a blue collar kid. And you become a lawyer and you put on a suit and tie every day. And, people that would be, normally uh, my everyday friends come in and they, yes, Mr. Palace, this or whatever. And it used to drive me crazy. And I just say, you know what? I need to be more approachable. You put on a suit and tie and suddenly, and you're a lawyer, you're no longer approachable. So when we started our radio ads and TV, it was a focus of mine to say, look, it's more than being professional. We're real, everyday, authentic humans in my firm, and we really do want to help and get you somewhere into a better place. And that kind of brand persona has just grown and grown over the years. And doing the rock concert is part of that. I think maybe it reached its peak this last year. I don't wear suits and ties all that often anymore unless I have to. Um, and the ABA recognized me as one of the legal rebels and wanted to have me like the way I look going to work every day, which is like I'm going hiking or I'm going fishing, because I hike and fish as often as I can. And they put me on the front cover of the magazine, which was kind of a shock to me because I don't think that picture looks much like what you think of a standard lawyer. But yet it was 100% who our firm is and who I am. And it was nice. It was nice to have the authentic person recognized by the ABA and not the lawyer prototype role model, because we are a diverse a profession. And when we developed our core values, we have a list of core values for our firm, and one of the core values was important to me was being real, authentic, diverse. And one of the things we say in that is, you can't represent anyone until you represent everyone. And that means everybody in my office should be part of a diverse group, should have a new lens on the way we approach life and our life experiences. We can represent everybody honestly and authentically because we walked in all of those shoes because of the diversity of the office. So I think that concept of simply being relatable, Tom, as you mentioned, really is about culture. It's about accessibility. It's about building bonds and getting rid of crevasses and gaps between professional lawyers and the everyday person. There really shouldn't be one. I'll say one more thing about that because it flows right into our culture. We don't have a hierarchy with lawyers and paralegals in my firm. We are all the same. No paralegal reports necessarily to his supervisor, the lawyer. We roundtable and we sit around tables or Zoom calls now and work cases equally together. And that equality among all of the staff is also one of those ways of finding commonalities, and it builds a stronger team and gives us greater success. So at the end of the day, Tom, that simple idea of simply being authentic or being approachable has grown into kind of a business model and a way of life for us. And it was nice to see the ABA recognizing that.
And for anyone who hasn't seen it, you should really check out that cover. Patrick looks like a lumberjack on there, an exemplar of the Pacific Northwest lifestyle. And actually, you are up in the mountains lately. Related to what you're saying though, like how do you foster? And you kind of answered this a little bit, but how do you foster a productive and positive culture within your firm? And I know that you touched on it, so what are some of the practices that you can implement to actually make sure that that happens going forward? I know that you have some retreats and things that you go on together to make it concrete and real. So if you could share a little bit about that with us.
Well, let me start from the top and work my way down. I mean, here's how I would unpack that again, pretty complicated question. Everybody talks about culture. Every firm has a culture. Whether you created it or whether you want it, you got one. The question is, how do you build the culture that you want? And that's always been a question, right? There's the Peter Drucker quote that, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can strategize what you want to do for your firm all day long. But if you don't have the culture, you're never gonna achieve it. But that was kind of the mindset up until COVID. And then we all went home. And then our firms all became virtual. And that's when it really got interesting. And we said, how do we maintain and grow a culture in a virtual world? And then double bonus points, how do we scale that? How do you build a culture, keep it alive virtually, and then scale it outwards? And I'll tell you, that is a very challenging thing to do. And we practice and try new things constantly to do just that. But I'll tell you, maybe what the simplest takeaway is we have one of our core values is do what you love. Love what you do. It should be the same thing. If you're not doing what you love, you're probably not in the right seat. You're probably not in the right job. You're probably not doing the right thing. If you don't love what you do, then you don't want to do it, right? So that's one of our core values. And we search to find people through our initial interviews to bring in. We have a cultural ambassador in our firm that goes through a cultural interview before we hire people on. And we're looking for people who really want to be here practicing law, who really want to make a difference, whose driver is not money, whose driver isn't, I want to be famous or successful, or whatever else. It's who wants to do the right thing, who loves doing this and believes in their purpose. I think that's really a critical piece to growing a successful law firm. And it starts with finding the right people. The second piece maybe is around purpose. And I just mentioned that a minute ago. People want a purpose. Guess what? Purpose isn't how much money am I going to make? Or maybe even not, I want to win a case or I want to try a case. That's not purpose. That's just things you do along the way. The purpose is the overarching reason for why you exist to be here. There is that question about what is your why, right? What is your driving purpose for being here? Because the purpose is far greater than anything else in your company. And so our purpose is really access to justice. It's about making people's lives better. It's about changing outcomes. It's about giving people a second chance. It's about righting wrongs. It's about fighting, leveling the playing field, fighting those with power and equalizing for those who don't, right? This is our purpose. This is our reason to exist. And we fill my firm with people who believe that, who live that. And when people live your purpose, when they breathe your why, then you start to build that culture. And that culture sinks in through Zoom. It survives across states. It lives as you scale outwards into other states. We expanded into Oregon 2 years ago, and it continues to grow. When you live that and believe that passion, and you hire the people that also live and breathe that passion, it makes a difference. There's a saying that people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And that could not be more true for our firm. People are like, oh, I want to be a lawyer because you practice law. Our service comes with the passion to change the world. And people get on board with changing the world, making it a better place. They don't get on board because I'm a lawyer, or because I have a law firm, or because we make some money, or they like our commercials, right? They get on board because they're behind the purpose. So I think as we're kind of digging into culture, Tom, and maybe I've said too much, or maybe I haven't said quite enough into all the other things that come from this, but culture is critical. Without a culture, we wouldn't have a firm, and without a purpose, we wouldn't have a culture.
No, I think that's really fantastic. I love that about people caring about why you do it, because you can pretty much find anything to do the what, right? But when it comes to the why, that's somebody who's really authentic in delivering it. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One other thing you mentioned earlier was that these beliefs. So like you actually have these written down, right?
Yeah, they're on our website. It's our core values.
All right. So not only is this aspirational, but you've actually have like a written set of values and a mission for the firm. And that's something that our audience should really think about, is just taking the time to think through not just a mission statement, but which is important as a starting point, but also like how to make that more concrete within your own firm culture, as Patrick's done. Um, any words of advice for lawyers about how to innovate in their practice? Are there any like, couple of pointers you can give them about how to do that?
Maybe I could try. At the National Conference of Bar Presidents, we convene bar presidents for state bars, local bars, metropolitan bars, affinity bars, minority bars. And we have huge rooms of hundreds of bar leaders. And it really gives me a chance as we meet with them, as we work through programs, as we listen to what their problems are, as we hear the great programs, to see, what the level of change they're willing to embrace, because the world's changing very quickly. COVID, being virtual, now AI is just rewriting the practice of law and giving us a chance to completely reimagine how it works. So, advice, I think, is the same advice that I give to the bar leaders as we talk at these conferences is, one brave thing, don't be scared. Um, the idea of AI, I hear people say, well, judges are now requiring us to disclose every piece of AI we use. And my firm says, we're not going to use AI. Like, it's bad. It'll hallucinate. I get it. I get it. It's a little scary, um, but you can't take status quo. You can't live your practice looking in the rearview mirror. You have to adapt. You have to be innovative. You have to step forward. You have to be brave and say, how can we adopt AI? How can we use it? I'm not going to wait for everybody else to tell me it's safe, and then I'm going to go outside. You have to lead. You have to be in front of what happens. You have to be able to grow your firm. You have to be able to achieve. Maybe, you take some risk, but guess what? You took a risk when you bought an iPhone. You took a risk when you put your information in the cloud. Oh, remember when you made that website and you put your firm on the internet, right? We all take these risks, and it's fine. We're fine. Somebody said to me the other day, in fact, Tom, I think it was at your conference, somebody said, right now, AI is as bad as it's ever going to be. Yeah, I guess that's true. It's going to get better from here out. So we better get in front of it and run fast and learn how to use it and take advantage of all its opportunities and grow our firms like we know we can do and do the things we want to do and look for these new models to expand and grow and scale and achieve access to justice the way we can. My advice is be innovative. Don't be scared. Don't be a wallflower. Jump in and do it. There's so many models of people out there. The those that are part of innovation, from the ABA Center for Innovation, Tom, to everybody who was at your conference, at your LawDroid AI conference. Really good role models for what it looks like to achieve and to grow and to take risks and to look at technology and to adapt and to move forward. And I think those are critical for your success, for your firm's ability to grow, or access to justice, and to be successful. I mean, it's critical for all of us. So my advice: do it, do it. Don't be scared.
Well, I'm on the same page. I definitely think that the best way forward is to experiment, to be curious, to use these different tools that are coming available now, and God knows what's going to happen a year from now and what more is going to be possible. But that the lawyers who use AI are going to succeed over and above those who hold back. So I'm really concerned about lawyers that push back from the table and say, hey, I'm just going to sit this one out until somebody else figures it out. You're going to be left behind, and they really need to move forward. But one thing I want to ask you, because you have such great energy, and I know that you go hiking in the morning, you manage to manage your practice throughout the day, and I know you have all other kinds of projects going on, including, the American Legal Technology Awards. How do you manage your work-life balance? And I know it's not a simple answer, and if you could just give like a hint of how lawyers might think of balancing it with all of these, new challenges that they would have.
Well, first, I don't think of it as balance. I don't even believe in work-life balance. I don't really know what that means. I really live my life with a sense of passion, and I follow my passion. And the things we've been talking about are all things that I'm passionate about, the things that I love to do. And I'll maybe say, guys, just say a little piece about that. We were talking about, managing your firm. When I started my firm, I wore all the hats as a sole practitioner. You wear every hat out there, from marketing to cutting checks, right? And every year that I went by, I don't really like doing this piece or that piece. And I'd take off that hat and I'd give it to somebody else who really liked to do that. And as we've gone through these 30 years now, I get to wear just the hats I love. And everybody else in my firm wears the hat for the thing that they love. Everybody loves what they do, and I love what I do. And that kind of direction isn't work-life balance, because nothing really seems like work so much when you're doing the things you want to do. And it's given me the room to do things like, on my birthday, I said I wanted to have what haven't I done in my life? Oh, I haven't had a winery. I really want a winery. So in 2015, I opened up a winery, and I've been making wine and selling wine, since 2015. I practice yoga. I love yoga. It's one of those ways to settle the mind, to keep the body fit. And so I opened up a yoga studio because I was so passionate about it. And so I ran a yoga studio for 5 years. Crazy fun. Met so many people. Learned so much about yoga and the friends. And it drove my practice more successfully because I came with energy and a calm mind. Right. I open up businesses from time to time as side things, Tom, because they're fun to do. And I think the energy I get from doing those flows directly into the law firm and running the law firm and coming here with my firm every day with good energy and excitement and ready to build and motivate the team. And the team motivates me, and it all flows together. And I don't think that I say, oh, I'm going to do yoga now, I'm not practicing law, or I'm going to do law now, I'm not practicing yoga. To me, it kind of just flows seamlessly. As long as I'm authentic and I'm grounded and I'm being me, then I'm happy. When I was litigating many years ago, I had one hat on as litigator. I was mean. I felt kind of ruthless. I wasn't very nice. I cut to the chase. I made tough arguments, and I thought I'm a badass, or just frankly an asshole. And I come home to my baby boy, and I'd hug him and I'd kiss him like, wow, that is not the guy I just saw at work half an hour ago in those pleadings. And I wanted to balance that out so I could be the same guy across all spaces. And when I've grown into that level to be that same guy in all spaces, it wasn't a work-life balance. It's just being authentic and being who you are and being passionate and living life with a purpose.
I love that. You know, ideally, our work should be what we love and should be our life. Like it should all be one. And I think by making it one, we get to pursue the things that we're passionate about and make it things that, hey, we also happen to make some money from. And if we can combine those things together, it's fantastic to have both. And as you know, that's something that I pursued with uh, going from being only a practicing lawyer to also launching a legal technology business in LawDroid.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so looking back, what is one thing that you wish you could have told your former self when you were starting your law practice or your legal career? What's one thing you would share with yourself?
Mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Wow. I got to pick one thing, huh? I would have told myself, um, get over yourself. You're not that fantastic. The sooner you can let someone else litigate and you practice running the firm, the faster your firm will grow. Right. I was way too serious. Nobody can do this. I'm good at it. I have to run everything. Once I just got rid of the litigator extraordinaire complex, the firm changed dramatically overnight. I wish I'd done that a decade or two um, earlier. And that whole concept about taking yourself too seriously, I think that's important too. We get all wound up. Got to win, got to achieve, right? I tell myself to maybe settle down a little bit, but maybe the point you don't expect me to say is that, you know, if me today could go back and talk with me tomorrow, I'd probably just say, you're doing good, keep it up. Because honestly, I wouldn't want to know what was ahead. It was just too hard and too many unforeseen things come and bash you in the side of the head. I was much better walking into it with complete ignorance and working through it. If I, you know, it's like if I said, Tom, if you could go back to being 23 again, would you do it? I mean, I think most people say, no, 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 I don't want to go back there and do that again. I don't want to go back and start my law firm all over again. And I wouldn't tell me much except for, hey, kid, keep at it, man. You're doing great. I might say this, one of the mantras I've had throughout my practice that someone told me a long time ago. And actually, I've said this before on podcasts, so hopefully it's not a repeat for anybody, but my mentor said, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered.
Wow.
His idea was, he said, Patrick, if you can give money back on every case, if you can give people a break, if you can take a little bit of money from people instead of taking all the money you can possibly get, you'll run a better business. And that kind of concept is always part of what I did, but I morphed a little bit and I tell my staff every day, um, you're not going to succeed chasing money. You're not. You're going to fail. Do the good work. Enjoy the work. Take the journey. Money will follow. If you love what you do and you do the right things and you're accountable and you're trustworthy and you work hard and you like what you do, you will be successful. If you chase the money, you'll fail. And fortunately, in my life, I've never chased the money, and life has turned out okay that way. But I see young associates sometimes who are just all about money and how much can you pay me and how much is my bonus and blah, blah, blah. And I just look at them like, you don't get it, do you? This is not the way you're going to live a happy life. So I would probably go back and reinforce to young Patrick Palace back in the day, son, never chase the money. Do what makes you happy and work hard. Work hard doing the right things, and money will follow.
Great advice. Great advice, Patrick. And I think that one of the things that you mentioned too was about supporting yourself, right? Like about you would want to say to yourself, you're doing a good job, you're doing well. And I think that's one critical thing that we as lawyers, especially when we're starting out on our own, it is a lonely place to be. And it's a lonely place with a lot of responsibility. And I can't emphasize enough the value of community and the value of having people that support us helps us to go so much further in what we do and to succeed and to get great advice. And um, I think that we've seen that in the projects that we've worked on together, like the American Legal Technology Awards has created this great community of people where
Yeah.
we get to recognize their great work. And that recognition and that sense of community that we bring together, I think makes us succeed even more. And I think the more and more lawyers that we could support each other, the better. I
100%, Tom. 100% agree. Community is everything. And if I sadly haven't said it, I am only here because of those who have supported and worked with me and partnered with me and been friends and been a supportive family. And you, Tom Martin, have been an endless source of support and partnership and inspiration for me with what you do at LawDroid and working with building PatBot. And my pleasure to be your partner and Kat Moon's partner in the American Technology Awards and building this community that's come up around it that maybe is even more important than the awards. And I don't say that lightly because I think the community that builds innovation and sticks together and supports each other through hard times and good times is probably just as important or critical as the awards that reflect all of that.
Well, thank you so much for that, Patrick. Obviously, I feel likewise, and I'm really thrilled that you are my first guest on the LawDroid Manifesto podcast. And this is great material. This is great information for all of you listening. These are things that are real that you can implement in your law practice to get you ahead, to succeed, to grow not only financially and in your law practice, but also to become a fuller person and to share that relationship with your clients in a real way.
Most
So again, thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate you being on my show.
Such an honor, such a pleasure. I love you, my friend. Thank you for this honor of being here today, and keep doing the amazing things that you're doing. You're an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you so much for watching the latest episode of the LawDroid Manifesto podcast. To keep in the loop about upcoming episodes, please subscribe to LawDroid Manifesto and you'll get notified. Thanks for watching. See you next time.